On July 28, 2012, police arrived at the apartment of Kortne Stouffer after a neighbour contacted them about the presence of alcohol at the party the 21-year-old was hosting. Kortne's boyfriend was on probation for driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol and had been prohibited from drinking alcohol, so was taken into custody for violating his probation. Outraged and worried about her boyfriend's arrest, Kortne called her mother to inform her of the news. Then she contacted a male friend, and the pair met at a nearby bar. The man stated that Kortne was very distraught and wanted to blow off some steam. The pair then met up with the man's friend and another couple and travelled to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where they got drinks at the hardware bar on 2nd Street. As the night went on, Kortne's anger continued to grow. At the bar, she confronted the couple, claiming that the man had broken into her apartment a few months prior and stolen money. When the man denied the accusation, Kortne became more agitated, resulting in security removing her from the bar. At 2 a.m, she texted the man she originally met up with to take her home. The man first dropped off his friend, then returned Kortne to her car at the bar they'd been at earlier. Feeling she was too drunk to drive, the man followed her back to her apartment to ensure she got back safely. They arrived at the Palmyra, Pennsylvania apartment at 3 a.m. While making her way up the building, Kortne saw her neighbours and got in an argument with them, as she believed they were the ones that had called the police earlier. Her main target was her 44-year-old male neighbour, who she had complained to her mother about in the past. Kortne claimed that he was watching her, and on one occasion she caught him filming her. The argument resulted in the authorities being called to the scene again at around 3:30 a.m. The officers asked everyone to return to their units and go to bed, and after already being called once, if there was more trouble, they would be making arrests. 10 minutes later, Kortne began stomping on the floor of her apartment and yelling about how much she hated her neighbours. The police were called again, but when they arrived, everything was quiet. One of the officers knocked on Kortne's door, but upon no one answering, he assumed that she had calmed down and went to bed. At 7:30 a.m, Kortne's friend woke up and couldn't find her anywhere. He left her apartment to go to work and stopped at a convenience store for some coffee and breakfast. While there, he sent a couple of text messages to Kortne, telling her that he was going to work and that he would talk to her later, but he got no response. The Lebanon County Fair was also on this day, and Kortne usually attended with her brother, but this time she did not show. She also failed to answer any of her mother's calls throughout the day. Wendy, Kortne's mother, grew concerned after she learned that her daughter didn't attend the fair. On July 30, she went to the Palmyra apartment to check on her. Everything seemed normal. Kortne's car was still in her regular parking spot. Inside the apartment, her keys were where they always were, and her shoes had been kicked off inside the door as usual. The air conditioning was running and the television was on. Her wallet and cell phone were sitting on a table. Only Kortne was missing. Hoping to figure out her daughter's whereabouts, Wendy contacted everyone Kortne had recently communicated with via her cell phone. Everyone she spoke with had no information and were surprised that she was missing. Next, Wendy contacted Kortne's father, Scott Stouffer, who immediately drove to his daughter's apartment. He called the man Kortne was with that night, hoping that he knew where she was. The man claimed that after he calmed Kortne down, they fell asleep not long after, and when he woke up, she was gone. Scott and Wendy were fearing the worst, so they contacted the Palmyra Borough Police Department, and the next day they went to the station to officially report their daughter as a missing person. Kortne's apartment was deemed a potential crime scene and was processed multiple times along with her vehicle, but no evidence of foul play was detected. Investigators interviewed neighbours, but none of them knew where she was. The 44-year-old male neighbour was of particular interest due to the clashes he had in the past with the missing woman. Detectives learned about a voicemail he had left with the landlady on the night Kortne went missing. He was angry and said that he wanted her out of the apartment and threatened to take care of the situation himself if nothing was done. Despite this, the man claimed he wasn't involved in her disappearance. Multiple neighbours' apartments and vehicles were examined, but there was no trace of Kortne. Her family insisted she wasn't the type to run away. She loved her job as a dog groomer, had many friends, and was extremely close to both of her parents. Missing posters were put up across Palmyra, advertising a $5,000 reward for information, an amount that would eventually rise to $100,000. Hundreds of volunteers showed up to help in searches organised by family and friends, meticulously combing through fields and wooded areas located within a 2-mile radius of Kortne's apartment. There was a strong belief that someone in the Palmyra area knew exactly what happened to Kortne between that 4:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. time frame. Investigators soon learned of the argument at the Harrisburg bar and discovered the man she had been arguing with was a known drug dealer, leading them to believe Kortne's drug use may have put her in harm's way. The man was interviewed but had a solid alibi. He also continued to deny burglarizing the apartment. Scott and Wendy were very forthcoming about their daughter's marijuana use and couldn't rule out the possibility of her using harder drugs. In March 2014, a female acquaintance of Kortne came forward saying that she heard 2 men admit to killing the missing woman as they tried to steal money and marijuana from her apartment. She claimed the men had said they rolled the body into a carpet and threw it into the Memorial Lake. Although Scott Stouffer believed this tip to be credible, authorities did not. Despite this, an underwater camera and sonar gear was used to search the lake, but it was unsuccessful. A volunteer diver conducted his own search later that spring but got the same result. This year will mark the 10th anniversary of the disappearance of Kortne Stouffer.